So to get started, I just, this is how I'm arranging my scene. It's nothing crazy. I got the scene view up here, game view down here, console so I can see errors because there will be many. Inspector takes up the whole side because it's a gangster. Projects over here, this is like my folder structure inside of my Windows directory. And the hierarchy, this is everything that's living in my game. So this is kind of going to be a bit of a beginner to Unity tutorial as well, but not too aggressive. It's just going to, I'm going to be moving around, but I'll explain things as I go. So the first thing you want to do is create some folders. So we'll make a folder here for art. We'll make another folder here for scripts. And I'm just, right clicking in here, create folder. Nothing crazy. We'll make one for prefabs. A prefab is anything that you've created up here, like a group of objects or an object with a script on it or something like that, or a group of scripts that are on an object. You can just save those as prefabs and then reuse them over and over and over again. It's basically like just a group or something. Okay, I think we'll make a scenes folder as well. These are just your levels, your game levels. All right, yes, that's a good starting point. All right, so first things first. Let's make a floor. So we can go here to game object, 3D object, plane, which is a good floor. But I'm actually going to make this floor instead out of a quad because it's cheaper. So 3D object, quad. And quads start off flat like that, and we just want to rotate it down. So I was going to do that to 90. And Unity has a bad habit. Well, it could be a good habit, but it has a habit of creating objects kind of where your camera is centered. So if your camera's over here, it's going to create it at like some random spot. I always just zero things out every time I create a new object because I want to be able to control it myself. Scale this up. Oop, using my controls right now. That's not working. You can't just middle click and drag in the scene. You actually have to use one of these manipulators. That's fine though. Okay, so we got a floor. Oh, let's make another folder for materials. And you'll see what's happening is, so I created a project just a little while ago, and it's empty. There was nothing going on inside of there, but now if I go here to my projects, whoa, where did I put it actually? Is the RTS test? RTS, oh yeah, it's right there. Okay, great. So now inside of the RTS test project, inside of my assets folder, here you can see all the folders that I just made right here are just reflected in here. And everything I add will, just go in here. This is just basically a mirror of that folder structure inside of my windows. So I can just get rid of that. And for materials, let's create a material. So we go down, right click into the folder, create, and we can just go to material right here. And it's going to be, we'll call this ground. And for now, we'll make it kind of brownish or something. I don't know. Not too disgusting. Kind of looks a little diuretic. We'll make it green. We'll make it a grassy. Grass is so much more pleasant to look at all the time. Okay, somewhere like there, and then you can just literally, click and drag, and there you go. That's a great thing about Unity. Everything's kind of click and drag. It feels a lot like Cinema 4D in that way. Okay, so that's that. Now we need a character. So we can either right click in the scene, or no, we can do, no, never mind. We can right click in here and do 3D object, and let's make a capsule character. Okay, and scoot him up, and again zero out his position because it's always weird. All right. Also, my main camera, that's not the angle I want to be, that's not the view I want to be using, because this is more of a top down-ish, top 3/4 down. So I'm just like my main camera here, and I'm just gonna drag him up like that, rotate him down like, I don't know, just do 45. Nice and simple. And then kind of scoot him up a little bit like this. All right, and maybe adjust the field of view so it's a little more flat looking. And now I can see I'm gonna have to pull this camera way back. Okay, so I don't want to go orthographic on this because I want some perspective change, but you know, I want that perspective change to be pretty subtle. So lowering the field of view is just sort of like flattening out, isometricifying. That's a call Webster's on that one. Isometricifying our camera. All right, and I'm just gonna scale this thing way out in that direction, and just for good measure, way out in this direction too. I mean, this little dude's gonna be running all over the place, so let's make it easy for him. Okay, so that's up a little bit off the ground. All right, and all right, so our capsule, this guy's gonna be our player, or our hero. I'll call him our hero. So I'm just gonna name him hero. I also want to tag him as our hero. I mean, there's these few predefined tags when you first start any Unity project, but I kind of prefer to make my own. So the list is empty. If I just go to add new tag, and I can just click this little plus icon right here and call it anything. I'm just going to call it hero because he's our hero. Okay, so we go back to this, and now our tags hero is available. So I'll click that guy right there, and now we've got a hero with a tag on it for hero. So if I just hit play right now, actually let me make one more material for our hero. So go to create material, and it's going to be whatever hero. That's fine. All right, the color or the albedo. I don't know. Never really heard that name before, except in Unity. But you know, right on. Way to coin a phrase and make it a thing. It's basically just diffuse color. All right, and we'll just drag that right onto there. That's kind of gross looking. Here, let me just, I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's all temporary anyway. Okay, and if we hit play, what we should see is this little dude. Actually, what we should see is nothing. And play, and nothing. Excellent. So what we will want to do is add a rigid body controller onto our character. So I'm just going to go to add component here, physics, rigid body. So what a rigid body does is just allows gravity to affect him and for him to collide with objects and interact with things in that way and that kind of stuff. So now if I hit play, he's going to drop to the floor. And boom, there he goes. So now he's sitting right on the floor, and if I just in the game view pull him up, you see he wants to fall. Boink, boink. So that, you know, that's super easy. There you go. You already have so much of the work done for you. All right, so let's just do a little something to make him jump, because that's always fun. All right, so I'm gonna go here to scripts, and I'm gonna add a script. Create JavaScript. We'll call this script jump. Sure, that's easy enough. I always preface my script names with script. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because, I mean, it's clearly a script, but I find it easier when I'm coding that, you know, I'm calling for a script instead of, you know, an object or something like that, because I know it's a script because it says script in the title. It's pretty advanced stuff, guys. Okay, so I'm just gonna drag this script jump onto my hero, and I'm gonna hit play, and I'm gonna hit spacebar, and nothing's happening. Well, we haven't actually written anything, so this is just a blank script. Well, that makes sense. So I'm double click this guy, and here we are in our script editor. I'm using Sublime Text 3, and it's great. So first thing I always like to do is give a little descriptor of what this thing does. So makes the hero jump. Makes the hero jump. Super helpful. Okay, so let's add in a jump strength, which will be a float. And this is going to be a rigid body type behavior. So I'm going to be adding force. And force has to be pretty ridiculously high in order for things to get measured. So I'm going to do 300. And I put the .0 at the end because it helps define it as a float. Oh, and we are not in Unity 3D. There we go. Okay, that's not really an official difference yet. Okay. And let's make something happen when we hit a button. So we'll do input dot get key down, and we could do spacebar. And here's what we're gonna do: if input dot get key down equals spacebar, or rather is spacebar, then let's just debug dot log spacebar was pressed with 3 excited exclamation points. Okay, if we just save that real quick, go back into Unity, and what we should see now in the debug.log console is every time I press spacebar, it's going to instead cause a problem. Oh, spacebar is unknown. That's right. I think they just call it space, or maybe I need the capital. Okay. Yeah, okay, it's just space. That's spacebar. Anyway, get key down space, and you can see every time I press space, we're getting this debug log that says spacebar was pressed. So I can press it 1,000 times. And it always just does it. It's beautiful. Control P is to play or stop playing. Very useful stuff. All right, and then that's that. So now that we know that spacebar is being pressed correctly, let's just instead affect the rigid body. So here's what I'm gonna do is create a variable for the rigid body on this character. So I'm just gonna do var rb and is of the type rigid body. And in the start, now so what this means is it's looking for a rigid body type. So you see if I hit save real fast and select my hero, and I look at my script, all of a sudden it's going to update, and it's going to say RB, and it's going to be looking for a rigid body. Now, I could just drag this rigid body in right here and be done with it and call it a day, and now I can start interacting with my rigid body. But instead, I want to do that via code. So I'm going to click this little guy right here and hit none. So we're back to nothing. And in here, if I just type in RB equals transform dot get component rigid body. Now what it's going to do is the get component is like a sub thing of transform, and our transform is of our transform on our hero. So this is our transform right here on our hero. So it's going to look for the transform, and then it's going to say, okay, let's get a component called rigid body. So it looks at all my different components, and the components are all separated by these little black separator lines. So each one of these is a component. So I'm getting the component called rigid body, and that's this guy right here. So now you'll see if I hit save and if I click my hero, you'll see that there is no rigid body, but as soon as I hit play, when the start function runs, it's going to grab the hero's rigid body. So it's going to grab the rigid body that's right here, which is attached to this script. Okay, now we got that out of the way. So next I'm going to do if input.getKeyDown equals space. I'm going to do another conditional check just to make sure that we do have a rigid body. And I'm just going to do if RB. What that means is if this variable is not null or there's nothing in it, as long as it has something in it, then it'll return true. Otherwise it'll return false. So if we do have something in there and we do have a rigid body assigned, rb.add force, and here we're going to do, we don't want any x force. Oops, we want a vector 3, and we don't want any x force, so we'll just do 0, 0.0. Now, that's important to know. I mean, with the 0, it doesn't really matter. But if you just do 0, it's going to consider it an integer. If you do 0.0, it's going to consider it a float. If you just do consider it as an integer, you're only going to be able to work with whole values like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. But if you do floats, then you get 0.000517 more, 0.0013. You get everything everything under the sun. I mean, floats are kind of like, it's the everything. Okay, and our jump strength is going to be our Y that we want to add. So jump str. And then our Z, we don't want to do anything there either. Okay, we hit save. And now we should be able to hit that space bar and watch this guy do a little hop. And there he goes. So there's nothing that's, you know, kind of conforming him, or rather like restricting him from jumping when he's in the air. So that's why you see if I hit space, I could just keep hitting space and he can kind of float. You know, so if you had a game where you wanted, you had like a jetpack or like a jump jet or something, this is kind of a nice thing to do. But we actually want to stop him from being able to jump when he's not on the ground. Wait, we want him, oops, and then he tips over. He tips over because he's got so much excitement. We want to restrict it so that he can't jump unless he's touching the ground. So in the past, the way I've done this always, because I didn't really know any better, was to do collision checks. So I'll show you that first because it's really easy to set up. So we'll do function on collision enter, or rather on collision stay. And then we need to throw in some parameters here. And we'll just do other collision. So on collision stay, basically that says like if we're colliding with something and, you know, we're continually colliding with it, then do some stuff that's inside of this function. And the other is of type collision. Other is just a variable that I'm passing in for the other thing that we're colliding with. So if I were to collide with this floor, the floor would be considered other. That could be anything. It could be an enemy or a projectile or whatever. It's just whatever is colliding with me gets put into that variable other. Okay, so we'll check. I'll just select the ground really quickly, and I don't really like this color. I'm gonna go a little bit darker, a little bit richer. There we go. I like that more. No, it's a little too saturated. Yeah, something like that. That's good. So I want to call this ground up here, and I want to make a tag called ground as well. Create a new tag, ground, and go back to my ground and ground. Okay, cool. So now we have a tag. So what we'll do is say if other.transform.tag equals ground. And we'll just do another debug.log colliding with the ground man, and hit that. And now you'll see this is going to fill up with colliding with the ground man like crazy. And boom, 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 boom. There, it's going nutso. Okay. And I'll just hit space, and you'll see it eventually stops, which is actually kind of weird because it should just keep going, but it's almost as if we're not quite colliding. And not colliding, and colliding, and not colliding, colliding. Well, I'm not really sure why it stops after a few collisions, but that is working. So anyway, that was one way to do it. That's the tried and true method. Oh, okay. So just to actually finish up this thought, so we could say is grounded equals true, and we'll make a new variable for that. So var is grounded is a Boolean, and it starts off false. It doesn't really matter. It's going to go true right away. And then in the update, we can do a is grounded equals false. Now this is kind of a weird thing. So what I'm doing here is like I'm forcing it false, and then if the collision is true, I'm calling it true. This is, I don't really know. This is, I don't think, the right way to do it. Oops, I think I misspelled it. Is go rounded. Grounded. Grounded. Okay. So if I click on my hero, we can see is grounded is set to false. And okay, so the collision isn't quite setting us back right. So let me just comment that out really fast and try this one more time. Is grounded is true. Oh, I need to put this thing in here. So if RB, so if we have the rigid body, and finally if is grounded. When you write if is grounded like that, it's basically the same thing as writing if is grounded equals true, or it's the same thing as writing this, but it's just a little shortcut. So if grounded is true, then we can jump. Now, of course, we're going to be able to jump like crazy because is grounded is going to be set true here, and then as soon as I jump, is grounded is not going to be set true anymore. So here's what we can do. This is actually a more elegant solution. So as soon as I add force, I can say is grounded equals false. So as soon as I jump, I'm setting is grounded as false, and because we're not staying with the collision anymore, it's not going to be reset to true. So here we go. And you can watch this checkbox every time I jump. Well, yeah, so the reason that's not working is because even as we're passing through this thing, oh, you know what? I also want to do fixed update, because fixed update is what you want to run when you're doing rigid body or dynamics based stuff. So unfortunately, our collisions are actually sticking around a little bit too long. You know, we're getting a single frame that's setting it back to true before it leaves the collision. So how do we get around that? Well, I'm not sure, but what I'd like to do instead is set this up the way I'd prefer to do it nowadays, now that I'm learning a thing or two. So I'm just going to comment out this block of code, and is grounded is false. Let's just get rid of that. And here's what we're going to do. Instead of using the on collision stay, I'm going to use this thing called a check sphere, which I've just started using, and I really like it. So we could do the check sphere up here. We could do it before or after the input. I'm just going to do it before. So the way this works is we do if physics dot check sphere, and then what we need is a position. So we'll just do the position of the center of the sphere. So we'll do transform dot position, and we need a radius. So I'll write a radius in a minute, and we need a mask. We don't need the mask, but the mask is very helpful. And just open that up, and here we're going to do check if we're touching the ground. Okay, so we need a variable called radius. Sphere radius, and this is going to be a float, and let's make it one unit, which is going to be way too big, but that's okay. And we'll do var mask is going to be of the type layer mask. And this is a new thing I just learned about too. Layer masks are awesome, being able to control them right inside of here, because I always did it this really cumbersome way using numbers, and it was awkward and funny. But I can set a layer mask right here, which is super great. So I'm just going to hit save and go back to my ground here. And you see I've got tag and I've got layer. I've already tagged it for ground, but now I need to tag, I need to add a layer that this ground is going to be connected to. So we'll call this ground as well. And if I go here, I can now click on my ground layer. Okay. So here's what I want to do is go back to my hero, and now I've got a few new objects. I have this radius here and this mask, and the mask is set to nothing, and what I want it to be set to is ground. So it's looking only for the ground, and you can actually add more. So it's looking for water and ground, or UI and ground, or whatever. But and you know, all these other ones here, these are defaults that Unity gives you for, you know, default and transparent effects and all that stuff. Ignore raycast. I again don't really use these. I just make my own stuff because I don't know. I just like to make my own stuff instead. Okay, so now we've got the radius and the mask set up. So now we go back in here, and I can just say, okay, so check sphere, transform position by the radius. So if our object, which is a transform position, and a radius of 1 unit, which is a diameter of 2 units, away from our object, is colliding or touching this mask, then go true. So we'll do a debug.log. Our hero is touching the ground. Okay, so we'll save that, and we should see a bunch of messages in here saying our hero is touching the ground, and this just will keep going for infinity. Well, your computer probably won't go until infinity, so it'll go until World War III, and then everything shuts down. But if I hit spacebar, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening because our is grounded is still set to false. So let me just turn that to true. And now if I hit spacebar, you can see that it's still is grounded. Just keep on resetting. Awesome. Let's get rid of that for the time being. Let's just comment it out because it's getting in the way of what we're trying to do. So I'm going to clear this real fast and save that script. Okay. So you'll see as soon as I hit spacebar, that's going to stop. Well, it's not, because we're not actually getting out of range. So that means our radius is too big. So let's put our radius to 0.1. And still too big of a radius. Let's try 0.01. Okay, well, that's acting peculiar. Our ground mask, is it that we want everything except the ground? Is that how it works? That doesn't seem right. Oh, I guess that actually is right. Okay, so it's the other way around. So we want everything in our mask group except our mask. And you can see as I jump, as I leave the ground, this message stops going. So that's super, super handy. So what I can do now is say, if our hero is on the ground, then is grounded. If our hero rather is touching the ground, is grounded equals true. Otherwise, we can just do an else. Is grounded equals false. Okay, so now we should see this thing clicking back and forth. So you can see the checkbox goes on and off, and I can only jump when I'm grounded. Okay, so let's add in a double jump feature because this is always fun. All right, so I'm just gonna get rid of this whole on collision stuff. The on collision stuff is great for like handling bullets or anything that requires like a rigid body attack or like, you know, directional something. So if you're hit from the side, you're going to want that collision point so that you can add force from that point, from the trajectory of your object. But if you're not really doing anything like that, if it's just something simple like checking to see if we're connected to a ground, then you can just use this check sphere. I mean, you can use a check sphere for almost everything, and then just figure out trajectories using some trigonometry, which sounds scary, but it's actually not that bad at all. I've just been learning it recently, and there's a really, really great tutorial site here. Let me actually show you guys this because this has been super helpful for me. For the trig stuff, let me see, where is it? Okay, that, you know what, I'll find it and I'll post it in the link because I don't know where I had it. There's so much stuff in here. Yeah, I'll find it for you guys and send it or put it up somewhere. Anyway, so now that we got our character jumping and all that fun stuff, let's add a double jump. So we can say var double jump, and this can be or let's do a jump count. Jump count, which is an integer, and it's going to equal 0. And every time we jump, that jump count is going to go up. So if we're grounded, jump count equals 0. And if we're not grounded, that means we just jumped. Jump count plus plus, which basically just says plus equals 1. Plus equals 1. Let's just do it like that instead. Okay, so that's our jump count, plus equals 1. And then what we can do here is say if is grounded and jump count is less than 2. So if this is a little confusing looking, so I'll just put in the both conditions. If is grounded equals true and jump count is less than 2, then we can jump. So here, this should work pretty easily. So I'll just hit Control P to play, and if I jump, our jump count resets to 0. Uh-oh. Okay, something's tripping. But with our jump count at 1, oh, aha, obviously, less than or equal, oops, less than or equal to 2, then we can just watch this thing, oops, Control P, jump, still only letting me jump once. Now the reason for that is that if we're grounded, jump count is 0. And if we're grounded is true. Okay, so now we got to change this. So if is grounded is true, we'll do or jump count is less than 2. Let's try that instead. So that's a triple jump. So we actually did one. I had it right the first time. Just less than 2. That's going to be 0 and 1. That's our 2 jumps. And you can see I can only jump twice. Or I can just jump once, and then everything resets. I can put that second jump in at any point, but of course, because this is a gravity and physics-based jump, it's going to act a little funny, which you guys can probably see, because depending on our character's weight as it comes down, that's going to affect, and that's why our guy starts tipping. Here, let's actually restrict him from tipping. So this is super easy. We'll just take this rigid bodies and freeze his rotation in the, let's see, in the X or in the Z. So we only wanted to rotate along the Y-axis. We only wanted to rotate like this, not like this or like this. Okay, that's good. So hope you guys can hear by my slamming of the space bar. This thing in action. All right, cool. So now that's all working. Check for thumbs on the ground. All right, we don't need that log to keep showing. We don't need this is grounded false anymore. So let's clean up a little bit. Okay, it's all pretty straightforward. Here we're checking. Here, I'll actually do this all right here. Check to see if we're on the ground. And then here we are causing the player or hero to jump. Okay, that's all pretty straightforward. That is our script jump. Let's make another script. Actually, let's first just save the scene, so at least we have something saved. And we'll call this testing 01. That's pretty much what 95% of my scenes are called because I rarely make it out of the testing 01 phase. All right, so that's that. Let's make a move around. Let's do some move scripts. So let's go here, script, right click, create, JavaScript. I'm just gonna call this script movement. And let's just drag this right into our hero. Oh, we gotta wait a second for it to initiate. Hero, boom. Okay. Thanks, Remy. Always enjoyable. Movement. Double click this guy and pops up our movement script. Okay, sorry about the constant hemming here. All right, so I always like to, again, define what my script is, what's going on in here. So this is going to be our script to move the hero around the screen. Ta-da! And we'll do var and move speed, which will be a float, and we'll just give it a 5 for now. I'm gonna definitely adjust that. Make another variable. We'll call it. Actually, I don't know yet. I don't know what variables we're gonna need yet. So I am instead just gonna start with a move speed. Okay, so when you're creating characters, or rather a point and click kind of environment, you want to do physics raycasts, which is what I will be doing eventually. But for now, just for the ease of use and the sort of understanding how this flow works, I'm going to do it really simply with arrow keys. So we'll do input if input.get key down. So if we're pressing down, right, I think is the way it's called. I rarely, I mean, everything I make is for mobile. So hold on, I think I actually have a little thing installed here where I can just go to definition. No, grr. I have a thing installed where it'll just take me right to the Unity stuff, but I don't know where it is. Input, where are our different input possibilities here? Key codes, here we go. It is called right arrow. Okay, good to know. And it's capital arrow. Okay, so if we're pressing right arrow, then debug.log move to the right. Actually, you know what? Let's have some fun with this. Slide to the right. Slide to the right. Debug.log, blah blah blah, slide to the right. Okay, so I'm just gonna save this real fast and just want you guys to see that this is actually doing something. So hit play. Oop, right arrow is unknown. So it doesn't actually like right arrow. That's weird. Oh, it's just so you guys can see what I'm seeing. I'm right here, and it says right arrow is the word to use. I'm going to try it without caps. Right command key. Joystick, joystick, joystick. Okay. Right arrow. Let's see. Maybe it needs it like that. And Much errors. Okay. Maybe it's just all one lowercase thing. And much errors. Okay, you know what? Screw right arrow. It's going to be D. Because D is awesome. So now, I guess that makes more sense too. I mean, you know, WSAD is sort of, that's where we live now. So I hit D, slide to the right. And let's go down here. If input dot get key down is A, debug.log slide to the left. And yeah, well, you guys get the picture. I mean, that's just gonna that's gonna do that. Slides to the right, slides to the left, slides to the right, slides to the left. Now clap. Okay. So what do we want to do when we hit the D key is we want the character to move to the right. So the easiest, simplest, most basic way of doing that is transform.position.x plus equals 1. So this is just like I'm taking the x position, the x value, and just adding 1 to it. And every time I press that key D, it's going to add 1. And I'll do the same thing over here for a slide to the left. And this is going to subtract 1. So hit save. You'll see how absolutely easy this is. Come on. Hit 1 or D and it goes to the right and it goes to the left. But you see, it's not animating. It's just literally like appearing there. It's like I'm now snapping myself to this next position. And that's fun. Okay, and then what do you mean with Streambot? What the heck is this? I got this before too. What is Streambot? What's going on there? Is it because I'm watching my own feed? Streambot Twitch. Quit your job and partner up. What is a Streambot? Haha. Streambot, another term for a viewbot, or at least a website that offers them latest and greatest way of trolling is no longer viewbotting somebody. It's going to the channel, accusing them of viewbotting and bringing up viewbots in the chat and watching the streamer get confused if they don't know what it is, or plus they don't know freak out because they're accused of viewbotting. Well, okay, so basically it's kind of like being rickrolled. And I just got rickrolled by someone. Alright, so anyway, moving along. That's awesome. I'm going to put the scripting API over here. And I'm going to minimize it. Okay, so that was fun. So anyway, yeah, you'll see that it just sort of like snaps you into the different positions, which is just not really all that elegant. So another thing we can do, instead of the transform.position, let's get rid of that. And what we're going to do is a move towards. So this is a function. So we'll do transform.position equals vector 3. So vector 3 is just basically saying I'm inputting an XYZ coordinate instead of a single value like a float, or like, you know, instead of doing 5 and doing 5 on comma 5 comma 5. You just need to inform it that it's going to be taking in 3 inputs. So vector 3, and it has its own set of functions inside of it. So one of them is called move towards, which is a really nice one. And it takes in 3 parameters. Move towards takes in your current position. So transform.position, which is our current position of this transform of our hero. And then where we want to go to. And what we want to do is just actually go to transform.position.x plus 1.0. So that's where we want to go. And, you know, this is actually, it's going to work kind of weirdly because this should be going to a defined position, but it's actually not. So in actuality, what I need to do here is a vector 3. because this transform.position is a vector 3. It's x, y, z coordinates. And I can call out each one of them. I can just say .x or .y, but if I don't add a dot at the end of it, then it's taking in all three. So we have a vector 3 going to another vector 3. So what I'm going to do here is just transform.position.x plus 1, and then transform.position.y, and transform.position.z. So what that means is I'm not changing the y or z positions, but I'm changing the x position to wherever it currently is plus 1. Okay, and then last but not least, our third parameter is how fast do we want to get there. So we'll do time.delta time times move speed, and that's where we're using our move speed variable. Okay, so what does that mean? Time.delta time times move speed. Time.delta time actually measures, it's kind of like just a timer, but it measures the distance or the time displacement between the last frame and the next frame. So if you were to just print out time.delta time, you'll see values like 0.005, 0.02, 0.1, 0.005, you know, it'll just be bouncing around. And it's basically a way of not having your computer speed be the determining factor as to how fast you're moving. So if you had a blazing fast computer and you just did move speed or time times move speed, it's going to go a lot faster than if you had a really slow computer and did the same code. Time.delta time just forces it to look at the time difference between the frames, and then that's the measurement value. So no matter how fast or slow your computer is, it's always going to be the same for every player. Super important to know, because you could really make some weird games that are based on someone's computer speed. Okay, so yeah, just go over this one more time. Vector 3 move towards, we have our current position, and then our position that we're moving to, which is a vector 3 of our current position of x plus 1, our current position of y, and our current position of z. So nothing's going to change on those. And then our speed is just time.delta time times speed. So we save this. You see here, we click, and if I hit D, it's starting to move, but in much smaller increments. That's because I'm hitting D for a second, and it doesn't have enough time to actually get to that position before in the one frame that I'm pressing D. So instead of get key down, which is a one-time event when I click the button, I'm just going to use get key, and that's going to stay down as long as I've got my finger down. So it's basically like pressing it a million times. And you can see I can still hit A and it snaps back, but if I just hold down D, it's just moving +1 along that path using my speed. So which is really nice here is if I click on my hero, and if I change my movement speed here to like 20, you can see how much faster he goes as a result, because now I'm covering a much bigger distance. Okay, and it's also important to note that any changes you make while the game is running will not be saved. So it's a way to test out different settings in here, but as soon as you hit as soon as you stop playing, you're going to lose all that information. So it's kind of annoying. So you just want to make sure that anything you do change that you liked, you take note of, and then re-input those values once the game has stopped being played. So I think 5 was actually fine. Yeah, 5 is fine. All right, and I'm just going to copy this whole section of code here. And for my move left, it's going to be the exact same thing, but I'm just going to do x minus 1. Okay, and while we're here, why don't we just make up and down as well? So if input.get key, and we'll do W. This is our up. And we'll just up movement words. And we'll paste this again. And instead of our X position that we're going to be moving, we're going to be moving our Z position. Now, not Y, you ask, because Y would be going upwards this way, and we want to move upwards this way. You know, like if you're looking at this map, this would be up, this would be down, this would be left and right. So we'll take our Z and do a plus 1.0. And again, it's always important to do that 0.0 because otherwise it'll count this as, if you just do 1, it'll count it as a integer, not a float. And your values just will be restricted to whole numbers. So always put a 0.0 if you want that level of precision, you know, beyond a whole number. Okay, actually I got to change this to get key, and you know, just in the interest of laziness, let's just copy that whole thing, change it to D, and then change our translate Z to -1. And we can get rid of this. Slide to the left is no longer useful. We'll do right, left. And movement, get rid of those, and right movement. Why do I keep hitting that B there? That's the weirdest thing. And this will be down. So this is a really, really basic way of moving your character on the map. So now if I hit play, whoa, oops. When I was hitting right there, hitting A, or D rather, I was actually transforming in a few different ways. Now why was that happening? Oh, D. That should be S. Okay, so you see what was happening is it was calling D for both this moving down and the moving to the right, and so I was moving diagonally down and to the right. That's weird. Anyway, so there's that. Left, right, up, down, combinations, jumping with a double jump. So there we go. We have now created a character that moves around the map. And he can double jump. And he's super floaty. He's like, he might be on the moon or something. We were going to go under moon dust, but moon dust was taken. So we are no longer on the moon. So now we're just chilling. All right, so that's working. That's exciting. But we actually don't want to control our character that way. That's one way of controlling it. So I'll save this out as keyboard controlled movement B again. Move mebbed. It's like my nemesis today. Keyboard controlled movement. And what I'm going to do is, this is a nice little trick I learned recently as well. I'm going to put it into a self-repeating function that I can call upon by just having a checkbox. So we'll call this keyboard movement. Again with that B. It's incredible. It's never happened to me before. That's not true. Keyboard movement. So I'm just making a new function. And I'm going to take all this stuff and cut and paste it into this function. So it's no longer running an update. And what it's going to do is to, while true, do all this stuff. So what the heck does that mean? While true? While what's true? While who's true? What is a true? What's happening? I'm lost. While true is basically just, it's kind of a forcing the thing to always be true. It's like saying this always happens. This is always accurate and true. So it'll always be running this code. But something has to activate it. So like I would still have to call upon this keyboard movement function in order to initiate this while true infinite loop. Another thing that's scary about this, and you just got to really be careful about, is while true, this will cause an infinite loop that will crash your Unity. The reason why is because this is going to be running way faster than every frame. So it's going to be running over and over and over again, like a million times between each frame. And it's just going to bog down your system. It's going to get into what's called an infinite loop. Never be able to get out of it. And you just have to force quit Unity and you lose work that you've done, and it sucks. So the way to get around that, and it's super duper vitally important, is to put in this yield command. That forces it to wait a frame before it calculates this stuff again. So it checks through this stuff, waits a frame, checks through this stuff, waits a frame, checks through, waits, etc. So now you can use this while true and this yield. Now, I want to be able to toggle this on and off in the game. So instead of just while true, I'm also going to give it a Boolean. So while true and let's just call it KB move. So for keyboard movement, and we'll go up here and create a variable up at the top, and we'll just call this var KB move, which is a Boolean, which is a true and false value, and we'll start off with we'll start off with true. Doesn't really matter. So while KB move is true, and actually we'll start off as false. I think that's a little safer. So we go over here. So script move, now we've added this KB move variable, and in our update here we'll just do a if KB move ever becomes true, then I want to run this keyboard movement. That's incredible. Keyboard movement function. So it's off by default, but if it's true, then keyboard movement starts. And if it's false, then then actually I don't need to do that, because if it's false, then this will not be true, and then the script will stop running, or that function will stop running. And I'm gonna toggle it right here myself, and I can add a toggle into the UI, so that you can change it there, like a pause menu or something. But for now, we'll just have it right here. So now you can see my keyboard movement script is false, and so if I'm pressing WASD, all that fun stuff, I get nothing. Of course, I can still jump, but I get nothing with that. So if I just click on this little button, now all of a sudden, whoa, holy cow. It just jettisoned off the screen. The reason why is because on every frame I'm reinitializing this entire thing, so it's doubling, tripling, quadrupling up. So now all of a sudden, instead of just +1, it's doing like +1,000, and the longer I wait, it's the higher that number is going to get, because I'm essentially restarting this over and over and over and over and over. So that is not good at all. So if KB move is true, let's see, how do we want to get around this? How do we want to get around this? If KB move, I think instead, maybe if I just call it in the very beginning, like this, in a start function. That's probably going to be safer. Let's see. So even though my KB move is off here, if I click this on, no. Okay, so I need some way of actually like turning it on. So my keyboard movement, I just want to call it once. So, okay, let's do this. Instead of that toggle being our controller, I'm going to control it with key press. So if input dot get key down, which again, remember, only activates once, only the one time I press it. And we'll do, I don't know, we'll just do K for keyboard. Oops. Then keyboard movement. Let's just call the keyboard movement. And we'll have to make KB move true. Okay, and we'll do this. So it's a toggle. So if KB move, then so if KB move is actually true, then KB move will go false. Else, KB move will go true, and it'll call the function. So just making KB move false will actually disable the function, and then I'll have to enable or make it true again, and then enable the function again. So hit save on that, and this should work. So hit play, and we can jump, which is great. Our KB movement is not working, but if I hit K, now all of a sudden I can move with the keyboard, everything's working great. And if I hit K again, our keyboard movement is limited. Okay, so that's working. That's awesome. Gonna hit save just to save this scene real fast. Okay, so we don't want the keyboard movement though, in general. So I'm just gonna get it off our screen, so we're not being affected by it. This will be turn on keyboard movement, little chunk of script. And what we actually want to do is move based on where we click on the screen. So this is a big one. All right, so there's two things that we're going to need, which is a ray and a raycast hit. And I'll explain what those do as I go. So we'll do a variable called ray, which is of the type ray, and a variable called raycast hit, or rather hit, and it will be a raycast hit. So pull up Photoshop for this because I want to show you guys how this works, because this is an important thing to know, and it drove me nuts for a real long time because nobody explained it well, and I didn't understand what the hell it meant. Okay, so Photoshop open, make a new document. A document. Nope, I guess I'm not. There we go. I don't know why Photoshop just takes so long to load, because it's got to do all this checking to verify that I actually purchased it, and kind of welcome screen. It's so annoying. Okay, so what's actually happening is here's our camera, right? And I'm going to rotate that a little bit. Crap. Okay, let me make it on a new layer. That way I can actually make some modifications. So here's our camera, right? And here is our screen. And then here is our scene with our little capsule dude, right? So it's some distance away. So what happens is every time you take your finger and you press on that screen, Unity goes, oh, okay, I need to shoot a ray from our camera's position to that point. And what it does, it takes from the camera position and it shoots a ray right through there directly into your scene, and whatever that ray hits, and this ray will go on infinity, whatever it hits, it says, oh hey, it's going to throw that object that it hits, for instance this ground, into the raycast hit variable. So if I instead put my finger right here, and this is a finger by the way, hopefully that helps to denote the fingerness. It's not a phallic symbol. Then instead it's going to shoot right here, and it's going to hit our hero, and it's going to hit the floor, and it's going to hit all this stuff. So it hits our hero right there, hits our floor right there. So all we need to do is test to see, have I hit, what am I hitting? Am I hitting a hero? Am I hitting a floor? Am I hitting an enemy? Whatever. And so we can check that with the tags that are assigned to these objects. And we can check it with anything. We can check it with the names, but the problem is when you have a game running with hundreds of assets on screen or just loaded at the same time, and you're checking by name, it has to parse through every single object in the scene and check for the name, and it's just you're dealing with an incredible lag on that search. So what the tags do is they sort of limit how many things it has to search through. So it only has to search through, maybe 20 tags as opposed to 300 objects. And it'll look through those tags and be like, okay, well, great. Yeah, we're hitting one of these things that has a tag, for example, hero or ground or whatever. Okay, so that is how array works. So array comes out of the camera and it intersects with everything in the scene from your finger's perspective and the camera. And array cast hit is information about the object that it hit. So I'm just going to minimize this, hopefully. There we go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get my tablet out of the way because I don't need that anymore. I know that beautiful drawing was done with a tablet, not a mouse. I know you're shocked. I am too. So in order to make this work, we need to do if input. Oh, sorry. Hold on one second. Okay. If physics.raycast, and we'll do ray, our hit, and a depth. So this is where you can limit how far down into the scene it's going. Remember I said it'll just keep on going forever unless you set some sort of a limiter. So we'll just do 1,000. I mean, we'll just do 100. 1,000 is insane. I mean, well, it's not insane. It just depends on your scene scale and size. You know what? Let's do 1,000 just to make sure it's big enough, but not overly way ridiculously big. And we don't want to be running this on every single frame. We only want to be running this check whenever we're clicking the mouse. So here's our if input dot get mouse button down 0. So get mouse button down takes 0, 1, 2, 1 and 2. 0 is left click, 1 is right click, and 2 is middle click. So if we're pressing down the left click on the mouse, then we can do a check for our raycast, physics.raycast. And so what this is going to do is send that ray into the scene, and anything that it hits, it's going to send us back information about it inside of the hit. So if hit.transform.tag, and again, I'm going to be using the transform.tag to filter what I'm actually looking for, because I'm looking for a ground. I want to see if it's hitting the ground. So if filter, or rather transform.tag equals grounds, I think I actually did that with a capital G. Too fast for my own good. We'll do a debug.log. You clicked the ground, sir. Okay, so if we're pressing the left mouse button and we're sending a ray out and that ray is hitting something and the thing that it's hitting is the ground, then it should say you click the ground, sir. So let's just try that real fast. I click on this guy. And if I left click, nothing. So we are not hitting the ground. And actually we are, but we don't know where that ray's going. So that ray is being shot out, but I don't know where it's being shot out to. So here's what I got to do is I have to say I want my ray, to be shot out at the location of my mouse. So ray, ray equals, now this is a little confusing too, because it needs to be shot out. Well, there's not an exact interpolation of our position in world space versus our position in screen space. So we need to make that conversion. So we'll do a camera.main screen point to ray, and we'll do input mouse position. So we're saying from our camera, our main camera, we're going to take the screen point, which is where I'm actually clicking, and convert that to a ray, and we're going to do that at the position of our mouse position. So now, if I go back in here and hit play, we should see that we are indeed clicking the ground, because now it's shooting the ray out where my mouse is. And you see if I click on the character, that's not the ground, so it's not changing, or it's not adding the you click the ground, sir. And I can even do, just to sort of drive this point home, if hit dot transform dot tag equals hero, debug dot log, and you've hit the hero. Careful, he's fragile. Yeah, anyway, that's something you could do. And we'll just throw a little thing at the end. Okay. And now, if I click on the hero, it says, careful, you hit the hero, he's fragile. And you hit the ground. Hero, ground, hero, ground, hero, ground. Awesome. Okay, so that's all working. It's beautiful. So now what we want to do is, I don't need that hero check anymore. What we do want to do though is get the position of the ground that we're hitting so that I can tell my character to move there. So debug.log, you click the ground, sir. So we need a hit.point. So we'll make another variable in here, and we'll call it var move to. So this is just our vector3 position that we're going to be moving to. So that I'm going to fill that with the location that my mouse is clicking. So move to. So now we could do move to equals hit.point. And hit.point is a vector3 that tells us the location to go to, or that tells us the location that we're clicking in world space. So that's that. And what I'm going to want to do is anytime I do hit the ground is I'm going to want to actually move my character over there. Yeah, okay, I still have that stuff down there. Hit.point. So move char to point. So I'm going to make a function called move char to point. Actually, I'll just do move hero, because that's what I've been calling him this whole time. Move hero to point. So let's make a new function. Move hero to point. And again, you can name, these functions can be absolutely anything. So I actually don't necessarily need to put this move to hit point if I'm going to be calling in this move hero to point, because I can just actually pass in the hit.point to this function, and then I can make a variable inside this function to accept the hit.point, and etc. But this is just a little bit easier to read and easier to understand for you guys. You know, as you're learning and as I'm learning and as we're all growing and achieving things that are wonderful. Okay, so move hero to point. What we're going to do here is just do a transform dot position equals move towards, just like before. Oopsie. This is a vector3 dot move towards. And again, we have our three variables in here. So our current position, transform dot position, and our place we want to move to. So vector3, excuse me, vector3, and we want move to dot x, transform dot position dot y, and move to dot z. So the reason why I'm doing it like this is I want the x and z positions that I'm clicking in here, but I want to keep my character grounded on the ground and where he actually is in the y space, because I don't want him to actually, like, because what happens is when I click on this, his center position is way up here, but I'm going to be clicking and creating a point that's all the way on the ground. So, I mean, I could solve this by just putting him inside of another blank game object and then, like, you know, putting his pivot essentially at the ground. And that would kind of work, but I prefer to do it this way just because it's not going to interfere at all. If I'm jumping, you know, it's going to snap that guy down to the ground, and all sorts of stuff. I just want that Y position to be sort of untouched. So it's just taking his current Y position. And then time dot delta time again. Oops, delat. Delta time times, I think I have a move speed in here still. Yeah, move speed. All right. So that seems pretty straightforward. The only problem is this is not going to repeat indefinitely. So we'll do the old do while trick. So while true, and then copy that, and of course, vitally important, we put that yield in there, or else this will crash our system. So let's do one more quick save real fast, and let's see this thing in action. Okay, so if I click over here, he's moving over there, and he stops as soon as he arrives. Click over here, he's moving over there. Click over here, he's moving over there. Now, why is he going faster and faster, you ask? The same problem as last time, because I'm now doubling it up. Oh my god, look at that, it's going so fast. Because every time I click it, I'm adding another +1 onto this moving speed. Just like last time, but it was happening at the speed of the processor, which was no good. Okay, so that's not useful. Hello, Priptide, how you doing, man? Hope life is good. Hope you're happy. Hope you're learning something here. Hope that I'm actually explaining things well. Okay. So that is that. Move here to point. I just want to make sure that he's not doing anything. He's not speeding up like that anymore. So let's see. How do I want to do this? Transform vector 3. Move to z y delta time times move speed. Not actually sure why he's doing that. I think it's because of this. Calling this over and over again. Yeah, that's why. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Well, okay. What I'm gonna do is this isn't really the easiest way to do this, but I'm gonna set up a point that as soon as he arrives at that point, it's going to do a check sphere, and as soon as he gets there, it's going to turn off this true stuff. And that seems so backwards. Hold on. Let me think for a second here. Spent so much time just talking, and I stopped thinking. Yeah, okay. I guess that's kind of how I'm doing it here too. I'm checking back to a project that I was just working on and trying to look at how I was solving this problem there. And I think, yeah. So instead of this while true, I'm going to actually put move here at a point inside of the update. Yeah. No, I'll do this. Sorry, guys. Just trying to think about how I want to handle this, because there's a few different ways. But what I'm going to do is actually put in a arrived Boolean here. And we'll go up here and just make a, I don't know, there, arrived is a Boolean equals false. Okay. So now, as soon as I click the ground, it's gonna have to do a check sphere. Now it's gonna have to do that on every frame. So we'll do if physics dot check sphere transform dot position radius, and No, what am I thinking? Physics texture is crazy. We'll do a distance check. Hold on. I know I had this written down over here. Just still, I still kind of like stumbled on the syntax sometimes of stuff. So I want to measure the distance from where I'm going to and where I currently am. This is totally the best way to go. So we'll do a variable inside of here. So when you do a variable inside of, what's going on? Last question about Unity networking, wondering if you knew about it. As a long time dev, this new update maybe want to try Unity networking again, so wondering if you knew how to set up a sort of matchmaking server. I am very sorry, Priptide. I do not know how to do any Unity networking stuff. I'm going to get into it a little bit for this tutorial series because I want to learn myself. And I ended up buying that Photon networking tool, or rather plugin, with the hopes of learning that. It seemed pretty straightforward. I was on the asset store for a while and had a big flash sale. It was like $45 or something. You can do a year's worth of networking. But I haven't tried any of Unity's built-in networking, or I haven't really tried that Riptide or that other thing yet, the Photon networking. But I'm gonna be having to get into that for sure, because I want to make games that can be networked and play multiplayer stuff. In the meantime, though, there is a great tutorial series that I watched on YouTube where someone was setting up the Photon networking in a MOBA style game like this, and it looked really, really easy and straightforward. I don't know how that connects with with Unity's built-in stuff, but it's something at least. Let's see if I can maybe find the guy. I'll try to find it and get it to you. I'll put it up in the chat or something. But in the meantime, let's try to fix this silliness. Cool. Use Photon currently. Oh, okay, so you do use that. I would actually, yes, I would enjoy some help because yeah, let me know if you are going to be streaming or posting anything at all, because yeah, it's really exciting stuff and I haven't been using it. But yeah, appreciate that though. Thank you. Okay, so right. Wait, what am I doing? Variable. I need a distance check. That's right. So we'll do var dist, which is going to be a float, and it's going to equal the distance of our transform dot position minus our move to, which we just got from up here, and we're going to do that as a square magnitude. So wait, how do I set that up again? Is that mathf dot square magnitude? Oh, it's always, I haven't programmed in a couple of weeks, and you forget everything unless you're doing it every single day. So sorry, bear with me for 1 second as I just find some script that I wrote recently that actually has this bundle of chunky code in it. Auto attack, maybe script minion movements, projectiles. Projectile would have it. There we go. That's how I was doing that. Projectiles. Vector 3, square distance. Okay, distance to target. Yeah, no. Okay, I was doing it right. And we'll do var squared length gth, which will be another float, and it's going to be the distance dot sqr magnitude. So I always read that it's important to, when you download it just for the first time, just edit the demos to your liking. That's how I use it, and it's so helpful. Nice. Okay, I'll try out those demos. Yeah, it looked like it was pretty straightforward to set up. The guy in the tutorial built set up this whole networking thing in like 30 minutes or something. I was like, wow, that was insane. But yeah, definitely using Unity's built-in one would probably be pretty helpful. Just gotta see how it works. Yeah, it's something with Photon. Isn't it limited to like 25 concurrent streams or something? So you can, it's like super small projects, and maybe I guess you have to pay a bunch of money to get the full version where you can have 100 streams or something. I don't remember. So square length and distance. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm taking our current position and oops, I actually want to reverse these. Our move to, so the place we're going to minus our current position, and then taking that and getting a square magnitude of that, which basically says doubling it and then putting a 0 to 1 on it. Putting it within a nice little range. And now I'm going to check if my squared length is, so if SQRLEN, yep, that one, is less than 0.2, then arrived equals true. So we've arrived at our position. So actually we want to do, putting a little exclamation point right there. It's a very weird local connection, so it's easy, but when you get over that, it's harder. Oh, really? Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to do local connections if I can avoid it. I want to do like full-on expanded, like being able to send it, play across a network somewhere. Yeah. Stuff's crazy. So while this is true and while we have not arrived, and just make sure that arrived is set to false, yeah. Then it's going to move, but as soon as we're close enough to the position, if we're within a 0.2 range of that position, then our arrived becomes true. This stops functioning, this stops working, and everything's back to normal. So now if I save this, this should work for us. Oops. Arrived. It does not like arrived because I named it RV'd. Well, I mean, if you had RV'd, it might work out. Okay, so we got another problem here. And that is, it cannot convert a vector3 to float on line 61. Well, that makes sense, because this distance should actually be a vector3. Because it's taking a vector3 and it's taking a vector3, so it should be a vector3. And square length, that is fine as a float because I'm just taking this and turning it into our vector3 here and turning it into a single value, which just measures the distance between these two. Okay, so now when I hit play, I'll be looking in here and happy to help if you want. P.S. I'm not saying that. No, I really do appreciate that, Priptide. I am constantly getting stuck. Most of my coding practice is using this silly scripting API. I mean, it's up 99% of the time, and I'm constantly going back and checking my syntax. I'm like, why is this not working? I'm still a beginner. I'm still learning, but I know some stuff, and I want to share what I know. So I appreciate you two doing the same thing and helping me out. It's going to be very useful. And here we go again. Oh my god, we're going so fast, and why is that happening? I thought we fixed that just now. Arrived equals true. So that should cut us out of this loop. And now we're back here. So I'm going to hit the point again. I'm going to start the loop again. So I guess what we would need to do here is arrived would be false again. It's still speeding up every time I click. Which I'm honestly now very confused about because shouldn't be doing that anymore. How to open? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Good old Unity API. Tell me about it. Okay, so hit the ground. We have a new hit point. Arrived is false, and move hero to hit point. So start moving the hero. We've got our distances worked out. Square length is less than 2. Let's see if our square length is maybe less than, let's just do like a big value, like 3. So this should kind of stop way before it gets to our mouse position. There we go. And yeah, now he's moving all nice and slowly. And he's moving nice and slow. But if I click too fast before it has a chance to arrive, it freaks out. Okay, so arrived equals false. But if we're moving and I click on a new location, then that arrived. That's so weird. Why is that doing that actually? Let's put this back to 2. We want our arrived to be true. Okay, let's do it like that then. This is sloppy, guys. I don't I don't know what's going on. So we'll make it true just to stop this thing from functioning. Then we'll call it up again and we'll make it false so that it'll keep running. Okay, Control P and click over here. Oh crap. You're clicking on the ground, sir. Yep, I certainly am. So that didn't work at all. Because of course now this is true. Oh boy. Alright, let's this is wrong. I know this is wrong. I just want it to work at this point. Add a little cooldown so it doesn't have transforms. Oh, cooldown. That's a good idea. Yeah. So where would I put that cooldown though? In the move to point? Should be... This is unfortunate. Why would I get around this? I was working over here in this other script just fine. It's a target. Sorry guys, just stand by, figuring this out. So move here to point. We've arrived at the location. You know what? I mean, the easiest way to do this would just be to put it right in the update and not have it running in this thing. Click the ground. How about we just do this? How about we do this? Is that what I had before? Did I just have that just now? That wasn't working? It's not your fault, Unity system. No, it's my fault. But it's okay. That was the problem. Isn't this needs to be there? Nope, that didn't work. Run it over the whole raycast. So a cooldown on here, so kind of forcing it to wait before my get mouse button clicks go. So I just need like a frame. I just need like a single frame of a cooldown so that I can turn this off before I turn it back on again. This wild true stuff is so weird. Run it over the whole raycast. I'm still learning how to really work with this. It's basically like a second update, but it only updates when you want it to update instead of always updating in the frame over and over and over. Okay, so let's do so many ways to do this. Do input and then you cool down. I'm sorry, man. I'm not I'm not understanding what kind of a cooldown you're talking about. This is I could use fixed update. That might solve the problem. What does it need to do? It seems like, yeah, I don't think that's gonna do it. To go. Okay. Here's another way. I know this will work. It's not as elegant. So we'll do moving. If moving, then do all this stuff. And instead of calling this, calling that, move to hit point, moving equals true. Moving equals false. And we'll make a variable up here for, let's get this back to update, and we'll do a var moving is a boolean equals false. If we get too close, then it goes false. Okay, so I'll try a method in just a second. Priptide. I just want this thing to work. Okay, so there we go. So the problem was it was just doubling up that that move point over and over and over again, or that sort of loop over and over and over again. And so it was running twice, then 3 times, and 5 times, then 10 times. Use a float, then add to time your cooldown there when you detect the mouse input. It's bigger than every frame. Okay, use a float and then add to time your cooldown. Then redetect the mouse input if it's bigger every band frame. I'm not sure that I'm fully understanding. Well, I'm not quite following that either. I'm sorry, Priptide. You're awesome. Thanks so much for helping out, but I'm not sure I understand what you're saying either. I'm again, like I said, I'm still pretty new to this, so I don't really know like some of the tricks and handy little things that can be done. And you're awesome for helping. But we don't need that stuff anymore. Okay, well, yeah, this is a little more of a down and dirty method. Nice work, sorry for just being want to cool down in the future to make it a little harder for the player. Yeah, cool down in the future. Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be adding some cooldowns here and there for things, but for the player's walk cycle, I want him to just be able to walk wherever he clicks at any time without having to sort of wait to re-click on a new walking position. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of that thing. Okay. So another thing is I put this var and this vector3 inside of my moving script here, my moving sort of if statement. So these aren't going to show up inside of the Unity editor. These variables exist only inside of this moving thing. Dude, it's just about taking the current time, adding a bit of time to it, and waiting till time catches up. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's a cool way of doing it. I never even thought about doing something like that. I'm actually just adding a little bit of time, waiting for the frame to catch up. Ugh, I need to learn so much. But in the meantime, I know a few things, I guess, some stuff. Not really. No, I don't. Anyway, let's keep going. So now I want to add a camera follow to my character, so that the camera sort of stays locked onto his position. So we'll do main camera, and I'm going to add a script for that. So right click, create JavaScript. We'll call it script cam follow. And wait for that initialize. It did. I'm drag it right onto my main camera. Cool. Double click this. And let's just do camera follow script. And we'll do var for target, which is going to be our dude we're trying to follow around. And we're just going to be looking for a transform node or a transform component. And we'll do this. Camera, transform.position.x equals position.x. If we have a target, then do this stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. The yield in JavaScript and C# work pretty differently. I thought I had it figured out for JavaScript, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the same thing. And then I tried doing some coroutine stuff, and it was just acting all weird. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then found out that C# and JavaScript sort of do weird things with yield. But yeah, I mean, throwing a little yield in there is probably a good idea, just to sort of delay it by a frame or two. All right. Oh, is that what you were saying? It's like I could have thrown a yield in, like right here, or I don't even remember where it was. Yeah, I could have thrown a yield in to turn it off. That would have been the way to go. That would have solved everything all at once. So I could have waited. I could have thrown a yield in to wait a frame and then switched it off, or rather switched it off, yielded a frame, and then switched it back on, and then turned on the script again. And that would have waited one frame. It would have been off, and then it would have started up again on the following frame, and that way it wouldn't have doubled up. Yeah, that would have worked. I'll try to do it somewhere else. Just to show everybody that process, because I already deleted all that script. I don't know why I never delete script, but I did today because it just felt right. Okay. All right. So our camera movement. So if we have a target, I want the transform position.x to equal the target position.x. So let's just do this real fast. Select our main camera, and I'm going to drag in my hero as the target. And now, wherever my target goes, my camera goes too, but only in terms of the X position. So if I want to walk right off this edge, I can't, because I can't actually click over there because it's not ground. So it's not recognizing my clicks. But if I walk right to the edge, he might tip over. No, he's not. Okay, well, he has self-preservation, which is pretty excellent. So why, you ask, is it not also tracking when he moves up or down? Well, that's a little more complicated because unfortunately, look at our camera's angle. If I just do position.z matches position.z here, this thing's gonna go, it's gonna be totally wrong. So I need to figure out some other way of locking the height of this camera and still being able to move him forward like this. So there's some, I haven't actually been able to successfully do this yet. I haven't really tried, but I also haven't ever figured it out. So one thing we could try is, like, it seems like you would want to put this camera inside of a group and then move that group around, and that group would have a nice orientation to it. Or maybe space world or something, instead of space space self. Yeah, that seems about right. I don't know how to do that. Actually, kind of, I don't. We can all do this together. We can figure it out together. Okay, let's do it. Actually, let's figure it out. So, transform that position. I need something that allows me to set space.world. So I know space world can be applied to a lot of things. Let's see, in our transform, let's do vector 3. Let's see what we got in here. So we got, we could do a lerp, which would translate between our two variables. And can I set a space in there? No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, let's check move towards. Max distance, delta, no space there either. Yeah, okay, so that's what I was wondering. That does make more sense to me, to put it inside of a game object. I just always was leery about using, putting the camera inside of another game object. But, I don't know, why, right? Camera controller. Okay, so now that we got this, I'm going to take this script off of the guy and make sure my camera controller is set to... Actually, I think I want to set it to the same place as that camera, right? Yeah. Just put the camera game object as a child of the cylinder and it will follow. Oh. Yeah, but then if I make it a child of the cylinder, I won't be able to actually control the camera separately, because I want to be able to also do like a middle click and drag to move the camera around. Or like, you know, if you move your mouse up to the top or left edge of the screen, it'll pan, kind of like in StarCraft or something. But if I just make it a child, it'll always move where the child goes. But I can at least link it up to this camera controller that will be connected to this hero. So let's take our camera, just drag it inside of this controller. Put this back at the top of our stack, and I'll put our script cam follow on top of the camera controller. And now I can just very easily do transform.position.z equals transform, target.position.z. And this will be modified a little bit as we go as well. So now, oops, just gotta make sure I got a hero in there. I'm holding on for a hero. Oh, there is a way to move it separately still? Yeah, like kind of a counterbalance and offset sort of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so now, yeah, everything's working. You can see here in the game view that, you know, everything is, it's keeping that guy centered. So that's fun. I want to add a little bit. Script follow. Nope. 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 I want to add a little bit of I had a good camera script on this thing. Cam follow. Okay. Oh wow. Okay, so I actually made. Hey, I can show you guys over here. I already made a camera follow script for another game I'm working on, and here it is. It seems a little crazy, but I just wanted to add in some delays and some drags and stuff, and I'm actually just gonna. I could talk you guys through this as I go, and show you guys what I was doing. So we got some variables for our target, you know, and then a delay amount and a delay drag, as long as a drag if we are dragging. This timer, I don't think I was actually using that. I think I just have it in there. I always kind of put timers in there. Delay return, you know, are we gonna wait before we return, or like how long do we wait before we return? And then we're waiting 3 seconds after the camera's been moved before it starts to drift back to the character or to the player. Then we've got hit, raycast. So why was I doing that? I don't remember. I don't know if I even need that anymore. Hit last point, which is a float. I think now you can even unchild with encode, not to be sure. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that makes sense. I think you can do that. I think I've done that before for some reason. I don't remember. But yeah, that's pretty handy. So hit point last is the... Oh, that's right. So this got a little confusing because I wanted to be able to drag, you know, so like if I clicked here and then drag to the left, I wanted to drag from this location over to the left. So that's what these are here for, this hit point last, this difference, and this positional offset. And then my previous position, my new position, and my drag speed. So here's what we do. When you click the middle mouse button, it gets the previous position, which is the inputs mouse position X and Y, and 0 on the Z, because Z is sort of... Yeah, I know. I gotta learn C#, actually. I'm gonna switch over sooner or later. I learned on JavaScript because it was a little more like ActionScript, which is what I used to program in. But I mean, my programming skills were basically just a matter of getting animations I created to play at certain times. But anyway, it just felt more familiar to stick with Action or JavaScript. But I am definitely feeling the limitations of JavaScript. I think anybody new who's starting should probably stick with C#. It's just going to be more robust. It's just a little harder to learn, but not really. Okay, so now we're holding the middle mouse button and dragging is true. So we're getting our new position, which is our previous position minus our mouse position, and then we're multiplying in our speed, our drag speed, by time.delta time. So it's limited to, you know, or rather the computer, like I'm controlling the speed as opposed to the computer speed controlling the speed. Transform that position dot x plus equals the x position. So yeah, I'm changing my x position, and I don't think I was actually changing the y or the z for that matter, because I didn't have this. I hadn't put it inside of a camera controller like I have now, which I can do. And previous position is vector3.input position. So again, our previous position then refreshes at the end of each frame, at the end of each chunk, so that we have a new previous position to subtract our new position from. And then get mouse button up. So when I release, our delay return goes active. So now our countdown starts for the 3 seconds before it starts moving back to the player. And we run this delay after drag, which is our little script here that's sort of a self-running thing until delay return goes false, which is it's just going to wait. A timer's going to pop up. It's going to start clicking up until it hits 3. When it does, it sets the timer back to 0. It sets dragging back to 0 and delay return back to 0, and it just starts moving back to our hero or our target. Yeah, go ahead. Please link me those. I mean, I was using the Walker Boys Studios, which is absolutely incredible. Like, those guys are amazing, and their tutorials are so concise and so easy to understand, and and they do it all for free. And I mean, everywhere I go, I always preach the Walker Boys because those guys are amazing. But yeah, if you got some tutorials, please go ahead and link it. I'm not doing any weird, like, you can't link stuff. Go crazy. As long as it's not a virus. Okay, so transform. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of how this script works. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy it really fast into here. I don't need any of that stuff anymore. Okay. So now we've got our new camera follow. And we'll just do camera follow for the new project, because I don't know what it's going to be called yet. And I don't think we need this input and hit ray and stuff. I think I was doing something weird at some point, exploring an option, and ended up canning it. So let's get rid of that stuff. Okay, and then position Y, which is based on that transformation to X plus equals pause X, mouse position Y. Yeah, I think this is what we want to do. Transform dot position dot Z plus equals pos Y. Previous position. I think that's it. That's it. Just save this again really quickly. What happened here? Cam follow project scripts. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll check our controller, and we still should just have, okay, now we got a bunch of extra stuff. Heroes are still our transform, those are target. Thanks, Priptide, appreciate that. Delay amount and delay drag amount. This is all good. All right, let's just hit play real fast. And let's see this thing in action. Okay, cool. So here we go, and I'm moving my mouse. You can see this all doing its thing. And if I wait 3 seconds, it should, yep, and it starts lerping us right back to our hero's position. And now if I move around as well, it should stick with it. But yeah, so there's it's kind of slow. So you can see I can actually get pretty far away from the center of the screen. And then when I stop moving, it just sort of like, I'm going to cruise over and get close to you guys again. And it is not taking into account our vertical position, just our horizontal position. Okay. So why is it not taken into account the vertical position? Z plus equals pos Y, drag speed. Drag equals true. Get mouse button up. Ah, this is why. So here we need a transform.position.z equals mathf.lerp. Transform.position.z. Target.position.z. Delay amount and t times time dot delta time. So again, what a lerp is basically going from one position to another position over the course of an animation. So it's just gonna, it's a linear interpolation. That's what lerp really stands for. So it's linear basically. So there's no, the tangents are like this. There's no S curve or anything like that. So it's just gonna start here. It's gonna go boonk, and it's gonna stop there. There's also slurp, which is like lerp, but it's for more spherical stuff. Like if you wanted to arc it, like rotate it around something. But yeah, lerping is pretty great. And if you set up your delay amount, so right now my delay amount is constant, but if that delay amount is changing based on the distance to the object, you'll actually get like a nice S curve. So like it'll slowly start up and then ramp up to a max speed and then slowly arrive at the location of the final location. But right now this is just kind of all linear working. Oh, awesome. Right on. Thank you, Priptide. Let me pull this open. Oh my goodness. Oh, these are from, by Alpha Media. Okay, these aren't Unity ones. Sweet. Let's learn some stuff. I like it. All right, cool. Thanks. I'll check those out for sure. Yeah, I think so. That's fine. Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Here. Let me actually give you the ones that I learned on so that you guys can all see. These guys are just so awesome for teaching stuff. And they just started releasing some really nice tutorials for C# as well. Some like basics to C#. But before there was always only JavaScript. Anyway, yeah, so this is all working. It's looking great. Now I can walk over here. Now the delay amount is probably a little bit too slow, as you can see how long it takes to get this guy back in the center frame. So I'm going to turn our delay amount, I think, up. Yeah, there we go. Now he's staying in the center of the screen more. Oh. And unfortunately this... Here, let me just make a really quick ground. So we have... So we have something that actually gives us a bit more detail as to what's going on. So we'll make it green. Let me get this dark green here. And we'll just put in some nice little green grass, something. I hate that thing so much. Whatever. It's gonna look pretty terrible, guys, but it's just gonna give us a sense of the thing, the movement. Here's grass. Ta-da! I mean, it's not good, but it's okay, honestly. Yay! Awesome, great. Thank you so much, Priptide. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, please do sub on my YouTube, and I'll definitely drop you a PM about that networking stuff, because I really do want to learn it. The other guy in here that's watching is actually a buddy of mine, and we're making some game stuff together, and we're gonna need that networking stuff for sure. So yeah, that'll be helpful. Appreciate it. Okay, there's our grassy ground. Hooray! It's just PNG. Let's save this out actually to projects 2, and we've got this Unity RTS test assets art grass, and I like to do temp underscore grass. Okay. So now inside of our art folder, we've got this temp grass. And so I'll grab this material and drag on the albedo or the temp grass into the image slot right there. And that's going to take over. Okay. So now we've got awesome grass. And the reason why it's looking so much darker is because you can actually tint your all your texture maps with a color. So I can make it all bluegrass, not to be confused with music. I can make it red grass, not to be confused with the drug. No, I don't even know if there is a thing called red grass. I just made that up. Okay, so now when we hit our camera follow, we should be able to see this behaving a little bit better. Oh, and right, we actually went up a little higher on our delay amount. Let's go to 1.2. I want this to be a lot closer. Great, awesome. That's great to hear, Priptide. I appreciate it, bud. All right, so you can see how that all works. I don't know why. I just accidentally grabbed that thing. There we go. All right, moving down. Anyway, so that's super fun. So now we got that. We've got him jumping. He can double jump. And I can't quite make him run off the edge because I can only click when he's clicking on an actual ground piece. So he's safe. He's safe from my malicious ways of wanting to destroy him. But there you go. I mean, in about an hour and 49 minutes, we've gone from nothing to having a character that can walk around, and I can still click that K on the keyboard, and then turn on my WSAD controls, so that we're now moving based on WSAD, and it's all, our camera is still following us because it doesn't really matter what control scheme I'm using, and I can definitely murder him. Oh no! Oh no! I feel kind of bad for him now. Yeah, so that's how it works. Let's save the scene, and I think that's probably a good place to stop for a bit. So now we have movement, we have cameras, we have a jumping script. I don't need that anymore, and we did it all right here. Pretty exciting, guys. I will be putting this stuff up somewhere. He totally did deserve it, right, Remy? Totally deserved it. This little guy, he's being such a little dick. But yeah, I'll put these all up somewhere. I'm in the process of branding this whole tutorials thing. So I'm gonna get a Squarespace going, and I'll be uploading all these things. You guys can all go and find them. But in the meantime, all these tutorials are gonna be going up on my YouTube channel. So I don't know. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. It's good times. And I'll see you guys next time.